In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the features of the Model Explorer in more detail. By default, we have person displayed. This is something pretty fine pre-configured that opens for the Fibo model. I'm going to go through these items that are available here on this help screen, and let's start with the first one: how to add more items into the visualization. So you double click on any item that has number. So if there's no number in the circle, it means there are no further relationships that this item would have with anything that's not on the screen yet. You can use the reset view to go to the original or initial screen, and based on expansion limit, sometimes you have to click multiple times, or if we adjust this to get up to 50 in one go, this expands all the relationships up to 50 items in one batch. So you can start double clicking on any item and it adds additional relationships of that item into the visualization. Now, if you want to expand all the neighbors of the same type, you can do it by holding down the shift key, because if you just double click, it only expands and adds two relationships that are for the adult that are not on the screen. But if you want to expand all of them in one action, you can hold down the shift key and double click on one class, and this will add all the relationships for all classes in one go after I double click. So I'll just double click on adult, and all other relationships of classes were expanded and added to the visualization. Sometimes if you do it with the expansion on an item with a large number of things, so like a legal person adds 10 of them, or I could do it with the shift key down again to again expand any unexpanded item, so it would do the legal person and organization in one go. But let's just do the legal person, right? It added a lot of items. You can undo the last expansion using the Control and Z. So the last thing was the expansion of legal person, and I can press Control and Z, and the legal person relationships are again hidden, so any additional ones that are expanded were removed. Also, when I did the undo, the position changed because all these nodes are not fixed. Only after you start moving them, they get fixed in their positions. So that's how you fix the items. We start a new visualization. So if I can keep expanding the items and keep adding to the existing one, but at some point I might want to focus on, let's say, legal person and start a new one with a legal person. So to do that, you double click on this item with the Control down. So I'm holding the Control key down and I'm double clicking on legal person. So this basically removes all the, it clears the canvas, it removes all the items and add the item on which you double clicked with all its relationships. And as before, I can go Control Z to go to the previous what was on the screen previously. You can remove any items from the visualization by selecting any of the item and pressing the delete key on the keyboard. So you can remove them one by one. Or in some scenarios you might want to remove all the items of certain type. So let's say we want to remove from the screen all the data properties. So to delete all objects of the same type, you press the delete key while holding down the shift key. So and I'll select one of these data properties, hold down the shift key and press the delete key. This removes all the nodes of the same type. And I can bring them back again with Ctrl Z. Now if I want to look at description of any of these items, just with a single click you can see that the description and other details are displayed in this area of the screen, in this box on the right top. If I want to lock all nodes, sorry, let's start with this. If I want to log a position of a certain node, you just drag and drop it. When you drop it, it remains in that position. So you can see the other ones are moving using the auto layout, but the one that I release, it's there in its position. So that's how it gets locked in their position. There is a way to fix positions of all nodes in one go, and that's done using the F key. So if I move this around and it keeps wobbling for a while, but if you hit the F, it basically locks position of all nodes. So you can see now when I want to change their position, the position of any other node is not changing. Now let's go for this one, how to reset the visualization layout. So if you want to remove fixing of all these positions and you hit the backspace key, and that basically brings back the auto layout. If you're doing it one by one, and I'm just fixing these items in their positions, and you just want release fixed position of individual items, you select an item and you right click somewhere else and the item is unlocked. The same thing works when you fix all of the items with the F key and you select something and you want it to unlock, you just right click somewhere else. So you could unlock individual items just by right clicking, selecting it first and right clicking anywhere on canvas. Switching to hierarchical layout, you can use the H key to change the layout, the auto layout. That's good in some scenarios, especially when you're exploring the type hierarchy. So if I wanted to focus on type hierarchy, I could start from financial product, create a new visualization, and I'll only want to display classes. So the only link between classes is subclass. And in this case, I'll start with product, and I'll just by switching the auto layout to hierarchical, I can then further expand subclasses of product. Like I said, this kind of layout helps with the type hierarchies. And going back to the auto layout, you just keep pressing the H. Let's look at securities. And I add these into the expansion and do the security expansion again. Stop wobbling is done using the space key. So if I expand all classes, again holding down the shift key, double clicking on one of the class, see the wobbling, you can stop it with the space key. if the focus is on the canvas. So let's do it again. Double clicking on one of the classes with the shift key down expands all their links, and you can stop the wobbling with the space key. It doesn't freeze all the positions, it just stops the auto layout action basically, and you can do it again here like this. To identify the last expanded node, it's either the selected one, or if I selected, well, I was doing the bulk expansion, so let's start again with security, and let's try to expand a few of these things one by one, and negotiable security, and I do listed security, right? So if I start clicking on the other items to maybe view the definition, you get to see which item is selected. The line is thicker around, and you can see the red circle around the last one that was expanded. I showed before, if we bring this down and I do the expansion on security, now it's at 11, so it only adds 11 neighbors, but it's showing there's 3 more. So you can keep double clicking on security to add the remaining ones, or you can increase the expansion limit. Using zoom is useful. If I add more items on the screen, so I do a few bulk expansions using adding all neighbors of the classes using the shift key, it gets busier on the screen. I can zoom out. And sometimes you can see that based on the zoom level, the description of the types of edges disappears. But you can also, with the control key down, and I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom out the actual page, not the content of the canvas, when I hover over this part, and this brings, and I can zoom out the canvas or the visualization, and it keeps this definition or the text labels of those edges in, even if the zoom level is greater or lower. So that's what I was doing, just holding down the control key and using the mouse wheel to zoom in and out either the canvas content or the web page, which zooms in and zooms out the controls, and it affects the visibility of the labels. So if you make this smaller, you can zoom out the content of the canvas while keeping the labels on it. Now when we are exporting or saving visualization to library, which is available in this section on the left, and the export is here on the right. So when I want to save to library, I get the name of the last expanded item by default. So if I want to predefine or preset the name of the library item, I click on security, for instance, and go save to library. So it takes the name of the last item or current item in the visualization. And if I wanted to use something else like financial instrument, I can select financial instrument and go there again to save to library, and it takes the name financial instrument. So save to library, save, and now I have the same visualization stored twice with 2 different names. In search, you can use 3 types of searches, and for the all keywords, you don't have to hit enter at the end of the text that you're typing into this field. So if I go for a loan, it basically dynamically changes based on what I'm typing in, and based on the selection of these filters on the left. So I'll do the security again, security, and you can use the filter to focus on particular type of node. And as I said, if you're typing here, you don't have to hit enter. It's different for full phrase and semantic similarity. And just again, the difference between all keywords. It was bringing all the items in the right when both of these keywords were included in the description. But if you're looking for an exact occurrence of the text, you go for the full phrase. And for full phrase on semantic similarity, you have to press enter to do the search. So I focus on this field, I press enter, and it's telling me there is no security bond. Why is the secure bond? So that's what I need to look for, secured bond, and full phrase, and enter. So I get a secured bond here, and the same for semantic similarity. I have to hit the enter key to get to run the search. There are a few other things worth mentioning. One is the export as the image. So if I go back to visualization and I want to, let's use the security example. And I'll expand the security to get more items on the screen, just to show the export to the image. Export as a PNG image. So the file is exported as PNG, but by default it has there's transparency set in the exported PNG file. This is how it looks in a Microsoft Paint when you open the same image. I think worth mentioning is backing up of the full library, and you can save the full content of the library. You can save it as export it as a JSON file, and then you can restore from such a JSON file using this item here on the top. And you can also export individual items from the library.